Hello, hello, hello. Carlton from the Pharmacies Network. Running the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net live stream. I'm running a little late tonight. I've had a very busy day, and yeah, been a busy day. We'll just leave it at that. So I'm here now. I'm going to go ahead and start the radio portion of the net. A little on the late side, but we'll get it going, and then we'll go from there. Hey guys, thanks for coming in. Oh, what's going on with the repeater now? I'll go off a notch on frequency. Man, you know, some days. Why does the repeater sound so horrible? Alright, hang on a minute folks, I gotta go look at the antenna. I'll be back shortly. See that? Did you see that? My ghost was invisible. That's a little cleaner signal. This is KD2 and net control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net is an amateur radio net sponsored by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. except for tonight at 9:42 p.m. because I'm running a little late. Anyway, this net is dedicated to amateur radio, farming, and gardening and discussion therein. If there are any stations you would like to check in, please call now. Hello, Curious Survival. Good to see you in here. I don't think I've seen you in here before. Welcome to the Pharmacies Network live stream. I'm sorry I'm a little scattered today, guys. And yeah, no, finally, Chris.
Here is K2BHN.
There's Jim. The net recognizes K2BHN. How are you tonight, Jim?
We're back home from vacation. Came back from the Caribbean.
Yeah, that's a problem. I mean, I don't have a suitcase of sunshine on my doorstep. What's going on here?
It was a nice 3 weeks, but Hurricane Karen is coming in now and wreaking havoc there, but we just snuck out in the nick of time.
Sounds like your timing was good if you got in and out between the hurricanes.
Well, the previous one hit while we were there. And we had, a good 20 minutes of rain. I don't know, that's Friday night. And that was it. So it's kind of like here when you have a snowstorm predicted and Armageddon is coming and so forth, and it gets holiday. They do that there too with hurricanes.
That's a good kind of disappointment, I guess, right?
Yeah, they did all the preparations and all that, and the cities were shut down at 2 o'clock and so forth and so on, and it was supposed to come a lot closer than it did, but Mother Nature kind of changed her mind at the last minute and took the left turn at Albuquerque, and pretty much nothing happened, which is a good thing. There's the time of a lifetime back 2 years ago with Irma, so they deserve a break.
For sure, for sure. Very good. Well, glad you managed to dodge it, and yeah, we got more rain than that here last night.
I don't know. We were down in Long Island. And leave a little pause in between the things because you're net control, and if somebody wants to jump in and say hi, we'll let them. K2BHM. K2LD, hi.
The net recognizes K2LD. How are you tonight, Bob?
Oh, very good. Just climbing a mountain here and got signal back again. Heard Jim make that opportunity for a pause, and I figured I'd jump in, say hello, see how everybody's doing.
Very good. Glad to hear it. Glad we caught you. And yeah, it worked out considering I started the net late.
Very good. Well, I'm approaching that day this turn where I'm going to wind up losing you. So I did want to say hi to you. And at the gym there, I heard Will Tom is going to a herd. So hello to both, and I got 7 degrees close. I'm going to be losing you very shortly.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for checking in, Bob, and hope you have a safe rest of your trip home, and hope all is going well up there. Hope you're enjoying this last taste of warm weather before the bitter cold sets. All right, well, have a good evening, and appreciate you checking in the net. Mother Nature does do whatever she wants.
Hello and goodbye to Bob. K2BHM.
Alright, let's just pause and see if there's any further check-ins. This is KD2IIN, Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. Wow, that's some cool air coming in. Alright, no further check-ins recognized at this time. Back to you, Jim.
Yeah, okay. Now that I got it, what am I going to do with it? We've been out of the country for almost a month, so I don't know what's going on here other than we came back. We left and everything was green, and we came back and now it's turning brown and leaves are falling down. Yeah. While you're away, the trees broke. Yeah. Have you heard anything from your beekeeping friends? Excuse me. No, we've been gone for almost a month, but I did put him. I gave him the foul phone that won't transmit, and all they need to do is receive and listen to the Tuesday night Farmers and Gardeners Net. So hopefully I'll catch up with them soon and see if they were able to listen in and enjoy the content. Sounds good. Well, if they've been listening the last couple of weeks, we haven't had KG2 RFI on here, so our bee conversation has been limited at best. But yeah, I hope they'll listen in and eventually get their license and check in. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, but usually not. They are from a farming family, So whatever content you put out about farming as well as beekeeping, all is going to be of great interest to them, and you might spread an interest among other people that aren't really amateur related but farmer related that would love to enjoy your wisdom.
Well, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, that was kind of the idea of the live stream, and the net marriage there was, you know, kind of intertwine those two communities in some form or fashion. There's so much to talk about. We might as well have a conversation. I'm going to be doing a plant sap analysis video coming up soon, so they should definitely check that out, because that'll be all about monitoring plant health and addressing nutritional deficiencies. So that'll be a very valuable tool if they're not familiar with it.
Yeah, for the benefit of those who are listening and not amateurs and can't contact back, you might want every so often put up or describe links to pertinent information that they might be interested in.
Okay, or I could just mention my YouTube channel, which is not necessarily brilliant information, although there may be some tidbits of gold in there. So this net is also streamed via the Pharmacy Seeds Network YouTube channel, and pharmacy is spelled F-A-R-M-A-C-Y, as in let food be thy medicine. So again, that's the Pharmacy Seeds Network. And so this stream is streamed live, and it's also available for playback later on if you missed the net. And there's all sorts of other content, gardening and farming related.
Yeah, next one. I think you might find some people listening that aren't amateurs and came across it by accident that would benefit and very much appreciate the information.
Maybe.
And basically give us a kudos and a thank you for providing it.
Sounds good, sounds good. So what else is going on? How long have you been back? Are you settled back in yet?
Flew in.
Sounds good, Killdeer. Thanks for checking in.
Late last night.
Sorry, it's kind of boring
got
tonight.
back to my sister-in-law's down in Long Island, and we just got back here into Kingston later on this afternoon. So we've only been home for hours.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I actually got home. One of the reasons I started the net late was because I was just getting home from Massachusetts, so I wasn't away as long as you were, but I know that just got home and go kind of thing.
Yeah, I hear you. And it was interesting because there was a lot of intense stuff going on in the vacation. It was intentionally unique a vacation.
Very good, very good. So what plant species did you smuggle back for me?
We tried, but he didn't get back to us with the guava berry. It's apparently a native plant that grows wild up in the hills, and our friend didn't have time to get up there and get us any samples or anything.
What are we going to do with you, Jim? You didn't pack me in your suitcase and let me go off in the hills down there. You didn't bring back any seeds. Oh, man. So disappointed. Alright, well, no worries. Mostly was just kidding anyway. But that would have been cool to try.
Well, two things. Seriously, we did contact a friend of ours there that's a local, and put him on a mission, and he didn't really come through. And number two, as far as hiding in a liquor is concerned, there's a 50-pound weight limit, so that wouldn't have worked unless you were extremely anemic.
I'm a pretty skinny guy, but I'm definitely not in that category. Yeah, you'd have to cut me in 3 at least for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's only for the magic acts. I don't think you can do that in real life.
Oh, no. I could be cut into 3 pieces. The problem is, I probably would not survive it, and I probably wouldn't go back together too well on the other end.
Well, they do use super glue, and that works cool for surgical incisions, but I don't know about severing the nerves and muscles and stuff like that. Oh, God. No, never mind.
Yeah, I can see both our minds are going a little too hard on the image side of that. We'll move along to another topic. Well, should you end up getting some guava berry seeds at some point, that would be really cool to try in the greenhouse and around here. Really enjoy those tropical plants.
Yeah, and living with a nurse for 20 years, you don't want to go there. Whoa, never. You know what? If you ever find yourself with airfare to wind up at Princess Juliana Airport in December, let me know.
Will do. Yeah, I lived with a nurse for about 5 years myself, so I'm familiar with the extremely detailed, gory stories that can come out of that situation. She was actually in an intensive care unit, so some really interesting stories came out of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, not very good dinner conversation.
No, and certainly not farming or gardening related.
Exactly. Yeah. Not really.
Okay, homesteading, no worries.
Pertinent to discuss the MA and the voltage requirements to defibrillate a heart with the pacemaker set in that went in last night.
Pacemaker, not on you. Yeah, pacemakers, those are interesting. I don't know what they use in pacemakers, but I know when I was in EMT, we used about 200 joules on the defibrillator.
Yeah, well, HIPAA, but she come home and talk about cases and stuff like that with no names mentioned, no names mentioned, whatever. But the topic was electronics, but not the electronics that we know.
Interesting. I'd be curious to hear more about that at some point. My housemate actually has Parkinson's disease, and he had the deep brain stimulation surgery done. And so he's got a probe in his brain that helps regulate his dopamine levels. So that was a really interesting surgery. He was in really bad shape when he left here 2 years ago. He really couldn't walk, couldn't really do anything. And he went through several months, I think like 6 or 8 months of rehab, and then they did the deep brain stimulation surgery. And you would never know he's got Parkinson's now. He's walking, talking, fine motor controls working. It's really amazing. This is Kitty 2. I am Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners. Well, you might not know it by the conversation. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. No further check-ins recognized. Back to you, Jim.
Yeah, okay, KJBHM. Yeah. Any relation to Michael J. Fox?
No, but we've, excuse me. No, but we've discussed him and his version of the disease in depth. Boy, he really went through it hard.
Yeah, definitely. And it's amazing that they have technology now to go in and trigger trigger certain reactions or whatever to mitigate the situations in the brain?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the technologies that they're developing to interface directly to brain and body, both for humans, are very interesting and also of great security concern for the future.
Oh, touche. Yeah, when they started enhancing pacemakers to the point where you didn't have to put a hockey puck over the top of the person's device, you could do it through Bluetooth or whatever. Opened up the possibility that hackers could sit in the mall and make the seniors do breakdancing in the middle of the place there with their laptops.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. Actually, one of our neighbors just passed away recently. He had a pacemaker, and he had a couple of times where it, went off when it wasn't supposed to, and man, that was some trip for him. He was telling me about how hard it shocked him and how painful it was, and how disturbing it was to have that go off when it's not supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. And what if you were in the middle of driving or doing something concentration intensive or whatever, and you lost it?
Yep. Yeah, and that reminds me, my dad was an EMT with Red Hook for a while as well, and I think he went on at least one, maybe 2 or 3 calls where people had heart attacks or strokes or whatever and passed out behind the wheel. And so you get to the scene, and it's an accident scene, but as you start to assess the scene, you realize that this person had a stroke or a heart attack, and that's the cause of the accident. So then you got to go back to that. So that makes for interesting scene management from an EMT perspective.
Yeah, exactly. The only good thing in that situation is that there's a track record that they could download and verify the situation. But other situations,
It's okay, Chris. Have a good
you
night.
have to guess.
Sorry I was late. We'll try and catch you Friday. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that they really stress in the EMT classes is to not just look at the scene from a perspective of what you see, but to actually come in with an investigative mind and be looking at what other potential injuries were there existing before this auto accident or this fall or whatever happened. And, be looking for is there another root cause that isn't directly obvious, that if you look for it, maybe you find a clue for it. Good training, hard to implement on a scene, because you just you come onto a scene and you don't necessarily know anything about what happened. Well, geek is still
exactly.
with me.
Get your BHM for ID.
Maybe we'll geek
Yeah,
out
whenever
here after I
we
close
go
the
in to
net.
look at something, technically, the first thing you do is assess the situation and look and see what possible causes are there and evaluate which ones are the most plausible, most likely, whatever, and try and prioritize things. And it's basically the same technique no matter what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was interesting experience for me. I didn't stay with the fire department or EMT for very long, but it was good training and good experience, and a chance to serve the community a little bit. So, and I have to say that's helped me more since I haven't been an EMT in different scenarios where someone's been injured around me and I knew what to do and I knew how to handle that situation and assess it. That's worked out well a couple times from outside the fire department EMT perspective.
Yeah, well, we had a couple incidences on vacation that were eye-openers. We were at the beach and somebody had some sort of a situation, and my wife being a nurse went over and basically troubleshot it and brought it back down into a controllable situation. But the real amazing one was on the flight home. Somebody went into some sort of a medical emergency situation, and they asked if there was a doctor or nurse on board, and it turned out that on the flight there was 2 doctors, 2 nurses, and 2 EMTs. But nobody could do basically anything other than sit there and look at them because they didn't have their credentials with them.
Oh.
They were not legal.
Ah, interesting. I wonder how that works. I know, let's see, I think I was 18 when I took the EMT class, and I'm early 40s now, so it's been a long time. But I know in EMT class, one of the things they were very, very succinct about stressing to us was that you're responsible, having been a trained EMT, even if you're on a scene, you have nothing to do with it, you don't have your uniform on, you don't have your ID cards, you're not part of a fire scene. If someone is injured near you, you're obligated to help them, and they can actually prosecute you for not helping them if you knowingly walked away from them. So I wonder, how does that work on an aircraft? Is that due to some weird federal law or something?
I have no clue other than you can hold their hand and you can wipe their forehead, but you cannot touch the airline's emergency kits.
Huh. Wow, that's weird. So basically, the airline would have you die rather than have their kit touched.
Touche! They had an AED and a full drug kit and a medical pack and all that. And
all that on
2
board
doctors
to let
there,
somebody die?
2 nurses, 2 EMTs. And since nobody could produce documentation to prove they were who they said they were, hands off.
I guess it's good to err on the side of caution with that, with so many people out there impersonating all sorts of professionals. But boy, I would hope if I were in that situation that if somebody was a doctor and didn't have credentials, they would let them help me anyway. Man, I don't know, if that was my husband or wife or child or something, I think I'd be speaking up. We'll bring an air marshal out here. I'll talk to him. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. It was a rude awakening. Yeah, okay, you don't have your paperwork with you now.
Right.
I am dying now.
Right.
I need your help now.
Right.
You can go and produce the paperwork later on and clear it, but I'm dying now. Help. Nope. You don't have paperwork. Tough luck. Bye.
This is KD2 Internet Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. Yeah, I think I would turn to everyone on the aircraft and say, okay, anyone who's got a camera or phone, start filming, because this is the beginning of a litigation suit when I die.
Sorry, but you're in the air. All electronic devices are off.
We'll just see about that. Yeah, no, I hear you. That's a really strange situation. It sounds like a few laws need to be modified to ensure that, somebody who's in a medical situation can get medical help on an airline. And, couldn't you help the person and produce documentation back on the ground? Couldn't they, they certainly could radio the tower and have the tower check documentation on a person.
Yeah, it was definitely a real eye-opener. They basically made no offer to check documentation or whatever. And when they did get back into range where one of the EMTs could retrieve her documentation, it was to the point where the patient had pretty much stabilized at that point. We were just doing a beeline to JFK.
Yeah, that's not a super comforting answer though. I'm glad to know that. I don't think I've flown in a long time. In fact, I don't think I've flown on an aircraft since 2003 or so. so I'm not familiar with a lot of it anymore. But I'll have to keep that in mind if I ever fly somewhere, like if I stuff myself into somebody's suitcase to go to the Virgin Islands.
Yeah, definitely. It was a mind blower for all of us on the flight. It was like, what? We never thought about carrying credentials with us, but we have to sit back and watch them die because we have the materials here, but we can't use them because we don't have a freaking piece of paper.
Yeah, that's really disgraceful, actually. Well, I'll have to look into that some more at some point in the future. But anyway, I'm glad you guys made it back safe. I'm glad you had a good trip. I'm glad you managed to dodge the hurricanes. And I appreciate you checking in the net. I think I'm going to go ahead and close the net out here. I'll pass back to you for final comments, and then we'll close it. And then I got to move on and finish up the live stream. And then I got about 1 billion things to do still.
Yeah, okay. I probably blew your mind at this point, but there was a lot more going on and whatever. It was a very emotional and very complicated vacation, and this was just the tip of the iceberg. But we don't want to get into that there. Anyhow, thanks, and hope I enlightened you. And thanks for running the net, KWBHM.
Sounds good, Jim. And yeah. Sorry it wasn't a more straightforward, just happy vacation. But we'll talk more about the emotional side of things. I'm sure you have more news to report. We have a little more time to catch up. Anyway, I appreciate you checking into the net, supporting it, and I hope you have a good evening. And hopefully we'll catch you next week, if not before. So let's see, I'm just going to go ahead and close the net. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. The Farmers and Gardeners Net runs every Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. here on the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club repeater, here on 146.805 Megahertz with a PL tone of 103.5. This net is sponsored by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club, as well as this repeater is also sponsored by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club. We also have a Thursday night net run by K2JLV usually, and that is more of a topic-oriented net and more related to amateur radio and technical topics. So please check that out also. Our club meets every third Thursday. Please visit our website for more information about the location of our meetings. I believe that's usually in Marbletown now. You can find out more about all of that and our nets and so much more about our Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club on our website at www.omarkclub.org. That's whiskey, Oscar, Mike, Alpha, Romeo, Charlie, Lima, Uniform, Bravo, Oscar, Romeo, Golf. Thanks to all those who participated. This is KD2, say IIN, saying 7-3, and inviting you to join us again next week. This net is officially closed, and this repeater is back in a regular amateur use. Thanks to all who participated. KD2IIN is clear. Whew. Yeah, vacation to recover from the vacation. That's not my idea of a vacation.
Thanks, CJ. Have a good evening. Talk to you later, KWBHM.
All right, 7-3, Jim. KD2IIN. So what's going on with you, Geek? It looks like it's just you and me tonight, Geekster. We can go tech talk now. We can geek out. How's your solar tracking linear actuator project coming? You got me thinking about that again as I'm going back into greenhouse season here. I was realizing it's not that hard to do. The harder part is mastering that solar.python program for me. Harvested sweet potatoes yesterday and edited today. Nice. Why the harvested in quotes? Pitiful? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, don't feel bad. I let that first plant in a delicata squash cure in the field too long, and most of them rotted. So the last 2 plantings came through good. I got about 110 squash out of it. But the first one didn't do so well. Actually, the first 2 didn't do so well. Did you get some decent sized potatoes, or was it decent size and just not many, or was it from seed? No, I don't think they produce a viable seed. But then again, I guess if they've been bred, they must have been bred through pollination, unless it was GMO bred, but I don't think it was. Like Beauregard, I know, is like a patented, I think it's patented by Burpee, but I could be wrong. Like, that's the variety that I have here. And I actually propagated from last year's this year. And of course, patented means I can't take and sell cuttings, to someone else without having, without paying to the patent owner or whatever. I have plants pop up where I've never planted them. Oh, well, maybe. If that's the case, you might grow them out and see if you get a different sweet potato out of it. Although, unless they were pollinated with somebody else nearby's sweet potato, it probably would be of uniform genetics, basically. But interesting. Oh, they didn't produce anything. Oh. I don't know what their actual full life cycle is. They might be... They didn't produce anything, like there was no little, even like a real narrow tuber or anything at the base. Like maybe they produce a real small tuber their first year, and then the second year they grow a full-size tuber. I don't know. I'll have to look deeper into the life cycle of sweet potatoes. I haven't followed that pathway down too far. I haven't dug any of mine yet. They're still green vines, so they're still growing, and so I'm letting them grow still. But another week or 2, I probably will. And anyway, so I went through down the rows and just kind of spot checked in a couple spots, and it looks like I'm going to have some good sized tubers. I hope so. The ones I planted from slips produce a handful or 2 of time potatoes, but only a couple even size. Tiny, okay. Yeah, they're tricky. They like plenty of moisture, but they like well-drained soil. So you're always trying to do this balance. Like if you have a really well-drained soil and you irrigate them like every day, not over-irrigate them, but irrigate them enough that they have adequate moisture every day, that's probably your best practice for it. But they can be tricky. It actually took me 3 years to really dial in on those. And it probably would have taken me longer if I didn't have the AEA product line, which just makes it so easy to set things, right on point nutritionally. Yeah, watering practices are so essential. That's one, my poor mom, every year she plants a garden, and she's not religious about watering like I am. Like, I'm out there looking at my soil pretty much every day. Yeah, automation makes a big difference. Boy, does that save time. But I'm out there pretty much every day checking soil moisture, looking at plants, seeing, do they look thirsty? Are they wilting in the sun? Or all that kind of thing. And I'll go address it if they need water. And so my mom goes, I don't know why this isn't doing well. And I go, well, when's the last time you watered it? Well, I gave a little water last week. And I'm like, well, we're in a drought. They need water every couple days. And so it costs her. Yeah, I need to automate too, Geeky. One of the things I've been meaning to go back and do for a long time is get some solenoid valves and wire those to the Raspberry Pi, and either soil moisture or some type of management system, even if it's just a way to turn water on and off cycles, so I don't have to be there to do that, because it takes a tremendous amount of time to go out and move hoses and set up irrigation and that kind of thing. But then if you're doing automation on the scale, not that I'm huge scale, but on the scale that I am, there's a lot of like infrastructure to put in, either overhead sprinklers or drip lines and that kind of stuff. So it can be costly to get set up. But June to August, they wilt every day from the heat, and no matter what, he'll fix that till the sun goes lower. Yeah, yeah. I do all my watering, especially in the summer when it's really hot. I do my watering in the evening at sunset or after sunset, and I find that when you do that, you get a couple of things. You get a chance for the plants to soak that water up and really take advantage of it. They get that water early enough in the evening so that when they hit their next growth spurt, which most plants, their growth, about 50 to 80% of their growth spurt in the course of a day is between 4 and 8 a.m. And so they have that water and nutrition available between 4 and 8 a.m. So they get that boost and they can really crank before the sun starts cooking on them. But yeah, you're in an extreme environment. I mean, super hot and sunny. So, you know, but the other thing you get is, I don't know if you guys get heavy dews at night down there when it's hot like that, but we usually still get a heavy dew at night. So with the watering and the heavy dew, you get the compounded extra moisture from the dew also, especially if the water's cold. It'll cause more dew to settle on things. Oh, the skeeters. Oh, there you go. Put your V-suit on. Skeeters. We just had a couple day warm spell back into the upper 80s here again, and man, the skeeters have been out at night again. And I'll be out doing something, all of a sudden I hear feel that little dink, sticking the straw in my neck to suck my blood. Done. Yeah, skeeters must be crazy down there with all the thunderstorms you guys get and the warm weather. Yeah, well, being on your pretty small scale, yeah, I'd automate it, Geeky. You know, you can get those watering timers, like for hose faucets. It does work pretty good. A cool spell down in the lower 80s. I wish our cool spells were in the 80s. Actually, I was sweating the last couple days. I wasn't used to this heat anymore. I was surprised my body was already swinging over to fall adjustment. The cool nights, you know, my blood's already thickening. Below 70. We had 39 here last week the one night. 2 nights in a row I think we had 39. Which was like, whoa. Oh yeah, that time of year is coming fast. I've been running the greenhouse furnace for about a week and a half now. Not so much for heating the greenhouse, but for drying stuff on the drying rack there. But I have to say, these cool nights, it's nice to go in there and it's nice and warm. Over the summer, we'd get a cool night and I'd like go into the greenhouse just to check on things. And like I'd walk in there and I'd just leave the vents open in the summer. I'm like, oh right, it's cold in here too this time of year. Are you, do you have tomatoes started again, Geeky? Heat into November, wow. Yeah, wow, that's such a different environment. Man, by November, we're expecting snow and we're getting freezing pretty much every night by November. Like it's a warm night if we don't go down into freezing overnight in November. Man, that's so ideal. I need a piece of property in Florida, Geeky. And the teleporter to send tomatoes directly to New York for no transit cost. 80 on Christmas, wow. That would be so weird. We had one Christmas day a few years back, it might be 10 years ago now, that it was 70 degrees. We were like, yeah! we were playing touch football at my grandmother's house, actually, me and my cousins. And sweating. So what kind of tomatoes you got started, Kiki? Go to the beach for a white Christmas. There you go. Surfing on Christmas. That would be cool. Do you guys do a Christmas tree down there? Like, is that a thing in the South too? Or is that more of a North thing? Amish paste and delicious beefsteak. Nice. Amish paste are nice. Those are a good tomato. I should send you some of these Roma seeds. I'm actually dehydrating some of the Romas in the greenhouse at the drying rack now. I got a slicer that I picked up out of a clean out job, like an old like cold cut type slicer, and I've had it for like 5 or 6 years. I never even tried it to see if it worked. I was just like, oh, a slicer. I've been wanting one of those for a long time. And someday when I go to process stuff, I'll want this. And I just stuck it in storage, and I pulled it out last night and cleaned it up, and I did a rack of tomatoes with a slicer. Pfft, man, it was great. I went through like 20 pounds of tomatoes in like 10 or 15 minutes. Nice, perfect half-inch slices. They're all drying on the rack now. I'll do a video soon. I'm excited to be drying. You import Christmas trees, but you do like a Christmas tree thing though. I wasn't sure in the South, like, I mean, in the North, it's all like, you know, it's Christmas tree, it's cold, and hot cocoa, and snow, and sleigh riding, and bells, and all that kind of thing. I just wondered what it's like in the South to not have that cold and snow. Christmas always seems like well, if you're into it at the time, it always seems like a cozy kind of year. Like, you go inside, and you have hot cocoa, and you sit around the fire, and you look at the Christmas tree lights. But I imagine when it's 80 degrees, you probably don't want to sit around a fire and drink hot cocoa. Do all the usual stuff, but fake fires and no hot drinks. Yeah, okay, so like chocolate milk instead of hot cocoa. That's kind of cool. It's much nicer to pretend it's winter than actually have it be winter. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, the fires and the coziness is kind of nice, but, you know, the other 6 months of slugging through the winter gets old. But you're originally from Michigan anyway, right? So you kind of know about that. You're familiar with that. There you go. A recording of a fireplace. There you go. I should probably do a little more something for Christmas this year. I haven't had much Christmas spirit in probably 10 or 15 years. Kind of got beat out of me when I was younger. Oh, you were 3, that's right, you were real young. Yeah, so you didn't get to grow up playing in the snow and sleigh riding. That's one of like the better memories I have of winters and Christmas and, you know, holidays and stuff is being a kid and, you know, going sleigh riding and skating and having fires on the pond and you know, those winter activities that are fun when you're a kid before you before you become an adult and end up just working in the cold and not appreciating it as much. Or am I misunderstanding Spruce Creek flying community? I mean, I guess I'm taking it they developed your swimming hole into a development. I went offline for a second. Sorry. I was refreshing a few pages in the browser. So it's probably hogging up my bandwidth. Come on, YouTube. Yep. Come on. Should be back now. Sorry about that. Homeowners have planes in a private runway. Okay, yeah. Tried to park his B-24 in his driveway. I'll bet that didn't go too well. Okay, yeah, wow. Yeah, that's what they were talking about doing across from my parents' place. My parents live right across from a small, well, it was a small airport. It's now closed. But the property's been up for sale for a sec. Yeah, sorry about that, Geeky. I put a little too much bandwidth demand on things. Made the papers, I'll bet. I can never think of John Travolta without thinking about Pulp Fiction. That's like the character that comes to mind when I think of John Travolta. Oh. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, they were talking about doing one of those across from my parents, but they decided not to do it. And now there's some new development plan. I think they're only going to put like 5 houses in there or something. But it sucks because I grew up. It's like 100 and some acre property, beautiful piece of property right along a local trout stream, and I spent a lot of time over there as a kid exploring. So I hate to see it developed, but I don't have 1.7 million, so. Oh, okay. Yeah, but a B-24 is a little big for the driveway, right? That sounds like a cool community if you got the money to play that sort of game. Yeah, I went through a lot of that too, Geeky. All the land behind my parents' house was developed, and used to run that as kids. We had forts all over the place. We had bike trails, swimming holes, favorite grapevines that we would cut the bottom off and you could swing out like Tarzan off the hill. All of that just totally bulldozed to put in houses. I was so devastated as a kid to watch that just go under. But, what can you do? Business marches on, I guess, right? Life marches on. Oh well. Good Lord. 10 miles west of Fine Woods, yeah. And they call it progress, but you know, I gotta wonder sometimes if we're making progress. Yeah. Sad to see natural land that you love just get wiped out and changed. Well, Geeky, I hate to cut out on you, man, but I gotta get back out to the greenhouse. I got a whole bunch of tomatoes I gotta slice and get on drying racks, and a whole bunch of other little chores and tasks to catch up on. I spent about 6 hours off the homestead today. Yeah. Well, give it time, Geeky. They'll start, well, I was going to say they'll start filling ocean, but I guess they'll have to fill ocean plus rising water levels as well, right? Oh, I'll rest, don't worry. I just still wound up and run. But hey, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Always enjoy your company and your support. And look forward to you on Homesteading the Hard Ways live stream or next week on this one. Hope your tomatoes keep rocking. Hope the weather stays nice for you. No more hurricanes going through. And God bless and be well. Take care. We'll see you. We'll see you Friday, if not before. Have a good night. Thanks everyone for watching, participating, etc. Cheers. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network.